So thank you for joining me today. You are my first guest from Australia.
Ooh,
I
excited.
considered that you came from Brazil.
Yes.
Yeah, so will you be able to tell me a bit about like your upbringing, like how you came to actually end up in Australia?
Mm. Well, I was in my IT career. That's all I wanted to do. In my teens, my mom used to work in banks and computer, and that's all I wanted to become, that I was so curious about computers. And I was in that career for 14 years. And then after 11 years, I was like, I was close to my 30s, so like, close to my Saturn return, and I discovered, and there was a call to live abroad, like to have different experiences and perhaps learn something new. I couldn't imagine myself doing that same thing for another 5 years. I asked myself this question: can you see yourself doing this for another 5 years? And the answer was like, oh hell no. Like I was ready to do something else. And that's when I went to Canada in 2006, and then that's when Australia came in my radar. It was 2009 I came.
When did you get diagnosed with ADHD?
Since I was a kid, my mom always said, "Oh, you have ADHD. You have ADHD. Not possible. You don't pay attention to things. You're moving into the next thing. You can't stay quiet." But I always took this as a criticism. Something wrong with me. So I did everything and anything to hide it. You know, I was like very good and at school, maths. So I was very good at maths, and I was, you know, pretty much very good grades, and got accepted in very competitive universities, and all that. So for me, there's like nothing wrong with me. And I think was last year or a year before I started like looking at, okay, someone speaking about ADHD, and it was such a nice way. That's like, instead of seeing something that is bad, as something that actually, has its qualities as well. And I thought, you know what? And I was starting to have difficulty focusing and staying seated at the computer and do something that I needed to do for my business. And I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna get tested. So I went. Was last year that I had, yeah, I had that tested, and it was inattention. And then, yeah, so it's been a journey since then of discovering, accepting.
I see. So your ADHD is inattentiveness rather than the combined or hyperactivity. So you didn't have the hyperactivity element.
I'm still like still in a discovering that I have these moments of anxiety and overwhelm, and then I can withdraw. That's how I experience it. And then was like, oh, went too far into doing too many things, overcommitting to things. So then I have to pull my energy back. It oscillates a bit.
Oh,
So
it
it's,
oscillates a bit. Yeah. Um,
yeah.
yeah. So,
It's,
I mean, it's really interesting hearing you talk about how you discovered, ADHD, through someone who was saying like some good things about it. So, can you elaborate on what are the qualities that came across that were positive?
yeah, great. Yeah, I think, the this creativity, like the creativity of having all this amazing ideas, and the ability to switch fast between activities, and be able actually to see the whole picture of things. Like, it's as if, part of me is here, but I'm also there, and I'm everywhere, and I'm gathering information from so many places. um that's, that's when I read, I was like, yes, yes, I can connect with this being, so holistic. I think in everything that I do, I'm connected to the whole. I don't see just one aspect of things. Creativity and ability to, yeah, to switch and be versatile and have so many talents and be good and talented in so many things.
How did you package, all the personality traits that you found was helpful in order to channel it towards your current pursuit? Because you are a mentor and a coach.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did
Yes.
you like sort of hone your skills and become, the person that I think you would consider successful, because you feel like you have managed to achieve something that you wanted? Because I spoke to a previous guest and she said that she defines success as what you have achieved within yourself rather than what the society deems as success.
Yeah, I'm loving, yeah, the conversations in your channel as well. I've been listening to some of your guests, and it's amazing to see how people experience this. That's how we learn, right? And when I came to Australia, I never again came back to the IT industry. I didn't know by then, but I think I was very curious to know how the brain works, how the mind and body connection works. I've always been interested in that. And when I arrived in Australia, I studied kinesiology, kinesiology is a mix of the Eastern medicine and Western medicine. So it's a lot of learning how the acupuncture system is in the body, chakras, and meridians. So, and a lot of the physical as well. So we learned anatomy, physiology. So it's very holistic way at looking at the body and knowing where we have blocks and mindset blocks and all that. So I'm just like, yes, that's what I want to study. That's what I was looking for. I had to study something to stay in Australia. So I chose massage and I started working with that to body, mind, as a therapist. And so, and like was last year, last couple of years that I turned my business online and I started applying that into, you know, other coaches who want to build their business. Yeah, so I'm very yeah in love with the embodiment piece, like something I didn't have in my IT. Like I felt like I had disconnect from my body. Is a little bit like that. I felt like I needed to disconnect, and that was the calling. I started listening. I'm very intuitive, so I started listening to like what is it like. Okay, something that's in between. It's mind and body is energetic, but it's also physical. So that's when I found all those modalities to have a better understanding of how I operate, how the human body operates, how the human mind operates. And so, and then last year, I, I was ignoring, this part of me was the IT, the great mind, the logic. Now I bring this all together. So I decided, like, no, like all of me, like all these pieces of me. I am good with energy. I can read energy in, someone's body. That's great. I love having that skill. It helps me. It helps with my own anxieties. It helps with aligning my own energy. I can also help other people, and that's, this is part of what I do. But I can also help people with business because I studied business as well. I graduated in business. And so it's like bringing the energetic and the practical together, helping people with systems and helping people with marketing and the energetics because yeah, often coaches and healers and the people I work with, they can struggle sometimes with technology, and as well it is this work of putting themselves out there as healers, as doing something new, doing something authentic. So that's how I brought it all together.
Do you cater to just the people who offer healing as a service, or do you open it up to other people as well?
So it's basically open to anyone who is really open to know themselves at a very deep level, know themselves as energy, know themselves as source, and so it tends to be more healers because healers are open to that. So, and healers is, in business, they have been on a journey. So there is this language where it's people I work with, yeah, some of them know about the chakras, some of them are like, for example, curious about the chakras. But basically, if they are curious about knowing themselves and they really, really want to feel, because I think that's what I help people with, I help them to feel themselves. I believe that everyone can read their own energy, can heal their bodies, can, even with ADHD, I discovered recently, but I never took any medication for it. And I am not on the, medication side of things. Now I understand that I've been on this journey, so I can manage myself better and I can help other people naturally in a way that's natural. It's, using meditation. I'm a meditation teacher as well. Look, that's one of the things that I am doing at the moment. I have so yeah, so these thousands of projects that that I can run at once. Um, but yeah, this program is about teaching people how to create meditations and become a meditation teacher on Insight Timer. I don't work only with healers. No, it's broader, but people need to be willing to go deep, willing to learn and willing to look not only at the pretty stuff, but the stuff that, it's what word to use? It's, yeah, maybe challenging sometimes to look at things that we haven't accepted yet in ourselves. And I think with ADHD, for me, I have accepted a lot of things in my life. I have got to know myself at many levels, but the ADHD, and when I say now, like I am learning how to accept, a lot of things I was so ashamed about. Like I don't want to be like this. I want to be this perfect, so I think I put these masks of perfectionism and the high achiever. I think we all have that, don't we? Like,
Yeah,
yes,
I think we all try and cope by masking our symptoms and the things that we did because of our ADHD behavior. Even neurotypical, we go through the motions of growing up, coming out into the world by yourselves and then making mistakes. But for an ADHD person, it's amplified, isn't it? Because it's like when you're coming out, like when you first came to Australia, leaving the home setting, being accountable for yourself and no one was checking up on you, that was just like a key to going as far and as well as you wanted, right? Could you tell me about whether, you struggle because of ADHD? Would you be comfortable talking about it?
yes. So is there anything in particular, like, or anything that I struggle, you mean?
Yes, many people with ADHD, especially women, a lot of their struggles are down to the regulation of their moods and emotions. Some have been to the doctors and then misdiagnosed with depression, mood disorder, and personality disorder is another one. But then, it took a couple of years or even a decade before they found out that the underlying issue was ADHD. So I just wondered whether you had any issue like that.
Yeah, I think it got worse. I think so. I had this as a kid, but through my teens was okay. Like I was managing well. I think I masked very well. I did a very good job masking, and kind of like became, this person, this extrovert. I was very good at being that person, people pleaser, like or chameleon, like even like, just making sure that I was liked, that I was part of the group. And I think that's the biggest challenge is actually being now to find myself underneath all those masks, because I didn't feel like I struggled with emotions to manage. When I started thinking about changing my profession, I think that was the beginning, because I couldn't sit down anymore at the computer. I started getting very unsettled, because I think I wanted to be creative, and I thought that by working in IT, I would be able to be creative. So I was mentioning to you that we did the personality test, and creativity is my biggest strength. So I'm very creative. I'm always doing something new each and every day. And so, I think that these are the biggest struggle for me, to not being able to, yeah, to focus. And having studied and having learned how to regulate myself, I think was key. Thankful to my intuition, but I understand that not everyone listen to their intuitions or have the ability or the courage to listen to their intuition. I listened to my intuition to learn those things. There was a deep, deep calling within me. And now I understand that I felt the calling exactly for the reason so that I could help myself, right? So I could manage, so all the things that I learned, Reiki, even I studied Reiki after, and all those tools that really, really help me, meditation, and like so many tools, each time is a different tool, that I use, journaling and all that. So the I think these struggles, I think is the struggles right now, but also the most juicy things that are coming up for me now, where I'm realizing how many masks I have put on myself to get back to my essence. Yeah. And within that truth of, who lies underneath those masks there.
So you're saying that you had to unveil many layers of mask in order to get back to yourself, and moving from IT to the healing sphere was a way for you to go back to what you really needed in life. So you
Yeah.
discovered early on that that didn't work for you. And because of your ADHD, I guess, because you were unable to sit down in front of the computer, you know, I completely relate to that too. I get up like 10 times an hour. So if you had,
Oh,
yeah,
I
sorry.
have one thing. Well, I think the struggles, I think, was feeling different. Like I always felt different, like different from everything and everyone. And as a kid, I had a lot of
Me too.
rage,
Yeah. I
rage in me, and now I'm starting to. Even now, I'm starting to understand, researching more of the things, that's actually very common, feeling misunderstood, like never felt understood by my mom. And even coming here, to Australia, most people don't understand. My mom still doesn't understand. My friends, they accept it, but they don't understand. And so, like these things of feeling different, I guess. But we do,
Yeah.
don't we?
But I guess, when you have a light that is so bright, you don't really fit in the masses. Maybe you felt different because you could see that the way the world was going wasn't really working for you, or it shouldn't really be working for people. And that's why you went into the healing space, where you wanted to help people get over all the pain and the suffering that they have within themselves.
Yes, yes. It took me, I'm 42 now. It took me over 40 years to get to that point of, oh, accepting this and going through this journey. Yeah, so I was going through the spirit, through the spiritual realm, like understanding and getting into, practices in yoga to get into myself and get into my body, understand my emotions, regulate. I think that's, I've always been like, yeah, if, dance, for example, is a big component of me getting back to myself, calming down that energy. When it gets too much or it gets overwhelming, or when, a lot of us are empaths as well as ADHD. We're so sensitive, right? So I think I had to learn how to manage that and separate there what is mine, what is other people's, and I'm still learning. I think that would be something for life.
Yeah, it's so inspiring listening to you, because all throughout, even when I was asking you the questions, that were quite difficult, you found a way to impart your inspiration about how you manage your ADHD. So, from what I gathered, there was a lot of self-acceptance, and you manage it through mindfulness as well. Meditation is a big thing, isn't it? And it's what you actually do now in your profession. And dance, which is really good. And coming back to ourselves and, healing ourselves. So it's been really inspiring. So if you have any other sort of management strategies, could you share with us?
What I would say and recommend is really find this way to quieten their minds. And I understand that for ADHD it can be really difficult to do that. And when I say find their way, is that they can find stillness in movement. And I think that's what in through dance, I find that when I move my body, when I'm moving, that's when I can process my emotions. That's when I can find this place of crystal clarity within myself when I move my body. And, I had to go outside of, out of the beaten road to find those things. I've heard a calling, and I'm curious. I'm a curious person by nature. So I always like to experience something new. So in terms of strategy, quietening and turning within to listen, because the answer for each person is going to be different. It's not going to be movement for everyone, although I believe that movement helps, and science has proven that. That's why, being in nature and be really committed to oneself, like committed to yourself. If you're committed to yourself, then you're willing to ask yourself, what do I need right now? What do I need right now? And it may be like, I need to express anger. I need to express anger right now because this person is getting over, tripping over my boundaries, and I need this. That's what I need. So I think learning this and being able to act on what comes from within when we listen, I think that's the biggest asset one can have to manage, because sometimes I need movement, sometimes I just need to be quiet and sit with an emotion that I'm feeling without, I think we can be very good at avoiding how we feel as well, because it can
Yeah,
be intense.
definitely. I find that we all have different strategies to manage, and sitting by myself when I'm already annoyed is a challenge, but breath work really helps. Like, when I feel like I'm at a tipping point, I go back into my room and just close the door and like try and breathe. And what's more effective is actually going out for a walk, going out for a jog, because like you say, movement can help us recenter ourselves. And it has been that way for me. And that's why dance as well is beautiful.
I say that dance has saved my life because of, every week I had a class to go to, and people, and the connection that happens. I think there's a lot of information that happens during movement, during dance with other people.
because we are humans, right? We're not born to sit on a chair, right? We have to
Yeah,
interact with
exactly.
nature, do the spirit dance.
So wired,
I
you know,
know,
like
you're right, because I feel most alive when I'm next to a tree, you know?
I feel like dancing on the street sometimes, and it's genuine. I feel like, oh my God, I really want to dance right now. And sometimes I hold back because I think like people will think that I'm crazy, but sometimes I don't care. I'm just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
When I feel more free, I
Oh,
just go and do
exactly.
this.
But everyone wants to be like that, but not everyone can really free themselves to be like that in the moment. Thank you so much
Yes,
for having this amazing chat. It's been really nice talking to
thank
you.
you. Really nice.